going on, y'all? I predicted that when I forecast that when I was having some technical difficulties going in. Should have just went ahead, cut the plug. I really wanted to charge the phone up. I should have had it charged already. Didn't anticipate issues tonight, but if you're here, that means that you probably already checked out part one or you were a part of part one. Great. Here's part two. We'll pick right up where we left off. We were talking about, there was a super chat from Trevor Patch talking about the Trent Williams situation and was there any news about Trent Williams' potential trade heading into the draft. I've heard nothing from the Trent Williams camp really since his agent spoke up, did the interview on 106.7 The Fan, and really had a little bit of backlash come their way since then. I haven't heard really anything out of their camp nor the Redskins in regards to a Trent Williams trade. I still, however, contend that that trade will take place, and I still think that before it's all said and done, Trent Williams will be a member of another team in the NFL. The Redskins will get something vastly different than what we think is probably really, I'd say, warranted for a player of the caliber of a Trent Williams. But at the end of the day, um, I feel like the Redskins are going to move him. They're going to move him. For what? I don't know. I've already given you my prediction. A third and a fourth is what I think the Redskins ultimately get. Scott McLaurin was on the air. I actually didn't hear the interview, but I did listen to the Kevin Sheehan Show podcast, and he played some tidbits, and he did say that the Redskins should be able to get a first for him, but obviously that ship has sailed. We all know that. And he also said that if you can't get a first, the next thing would be a second and a fourth. I don't think the Redskins are getting that either. So I think a third and a fourth at this point will probably be the best the Redskins can do. Maybe you throw a player in there to sweeten the pot, make it a little bit more worth the Redskins' while. But at the end of the day, I think the Redskins are going to compromise, and I think you're going to see Trent Williams be moved. But right now, really nothing has come out about a potential Trent Williams trade. I will say this though, I did see a tweet today from um, a Redskins reporter. I cannot remember her name for the life of me right now, but she's awesome. And she said, "Look, there is no Trent Williams deal imminent, but the Browns are very much still interested." That was one of the teams, and I'll tell you this. I'll say this, and when I read the tweet today, I remember saying this to myself: if I'm the Browns, because I feel like the Browns are in Josina Anderson. Thank you. I got Munson. Thank you so much. It was Josina Anderson from ESPN that tweeted out that the Browns were interested. Now, nothing's imminent, but the Browns are definitely still interested. And if I'm the Browns, and I was just saying this, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Redskins fan and I want to move Trent Williams. I'm saying this because I think this is the honest to God truth. If I'm the Browns, it makes more sense to me because of where the Browns are as an organization. They're not looking to win 3-4 years down the road. They're looking to win right now. The moves they made this offseason, the way they keep playing musical chairs with their head coaching position, the moves they made in the front office, new general manager, all of the things that they've done point to we want to win and we want to win now. Not next year, not the year after next. We want to win right now. So I think when it's all said and done, you're going to have a situation where um, you have a chance to draft a wide receiver or some other position. And I really think wide receiver would be the way I would go because there are some elite guys in that mix that could change the game for them. Maybe you want to go another edge rusher opposite um, of oh shucks, the dude that got suspended last year. Um, Shucks. One of y'all will put it in the comment section, but maybe you Miles Garrett, that's his name, Miles Garrett. Maybe you want to go with edge rusher because we saw what happened to their defense once Miles Garrett got suspended. It changed everything defensively for them. So maybe you're cool at receiver. You love Odell Beckham. Maybe you don't. There's a reason his name has circulated among trade rumors. We'll see what happens at the end of the day. If I'm the Browns, it makes a ton of sense to go ahead get Trent because you went out and got a right tackle from the Titans, and so now you need a left tackle. Trent Williams fills that void because to me, with all the moves that you've made, there's a 4 year window, and that's what Trent probably realistically has left in terms of elite years, if for him, if not more potentially. Bottom line is, I think if I'm the Browns, the smart thing to do would be to go get Trent Williams, and that would allow you to free up number 10 overall and give you a chance to really do some damage in the draft at number 10. But, maybe they decide we want to keep it nice and relatively cheap with a guy that's going to be under contract for the next 5 years on a rookie deal. And that makes sense too. But if you're in win now mode, there isn't a tackle in this draft better than Trent Williams right now. If he's healthy, if he's right, there's no tackle in this draft better than Trent Williams. So from that standpoint, I would I would pull the trigger if I were the Browns, but that's me. So we'll see what ultimately happens. We'll see if the Redskins are able to move Trent Williams. I have always said that this is going to get done and get done some point at or before the draft. I'm sticking steadfast to that. And you're going to see a number of deals. This Gronk deal to me is the first of many that are going to take place heading into and throughout the draft. The Jags want to move Yannick Ngakoue. I think that's going to happen. They want to move Leonard Fournette. I think that's going to happen. The 49ers want to move D Ford. They want to move Quan Alexander. One of those guys, if not both, may get moved. We'll see. There are a ton of OJ Howard, I think, is going to get moved. He's going to be dealt at the draft. So this deal is going to get done, I feel. Trent Williams, I think, has played his last snap as a Redskin. I think this is the last time we'll have to have this conversation about where will Trent Williams end up? What can we get for him? I think this is it. I think we see Trent Williams on the move this coming week as I think the Redskins finally move on from Trent Williams and hopefully get good enough value to help them in this year's draft. Let's get to the comment section. Um, I see some comments. And remember, just because we're on the cellular device doesn't mean that the game changes at all. Phone lines are still open. If you know the number, call in. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel of trying to give out the number. If someone knows the number that's in the comment section, feel free to put it in there for everyone else. But phone lines are open. Comment section is open as well. Louie T, hashtag Louie T Live to have your comment read. And obviously, super chats supersede everything else. You got a super chat? Hit me up, and I will be glad to read it. I see a couple super chats, so I'll get to those. Hong Kong Fooey with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Hong Kong Fooey. Hong Kong Fooey, number one super guy. Says, I got my hand ready for the Chase pick. Cheers, HTTR. I'm excited, man. I'm just ready for this to be over. I know all of you saw the reports, and I didn't pay one bit of attention to it. It did not faze me whatsoever. My girl hit me up at work, was like, yo, did you see the report by Bleacher Report that the Redskins are fielding calls for the number 2 pick? And I'm like, yeah, I saw it. I don't care. I'm not paying any attention to any of that stuff. I got a one-track mind. I'm locked in. I know what this is. And we're going to take Chase Young. And the Redskins are supposed to be listening to calls. It's what they're supposed to be doing their due diligence. If someone were to knock their socks off and they made the move, I wouldn't be mad at them. I'd be disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. I'd be disappointed, but I would not be upset because it would take a massive deal of epic proportions to get the Redskins off the spot. And if someone came with one of those types of deals, I'd have to say, do it. Do your thing. You know what I mean? So I don't see that coming. I don't see a team offering it. And I've said this time and time again. The draft starts at number 3. The Redskins and the Bengals, to me, are locked in. Bengals are going to select Joe Burrow. Redskins are going to select Chase Young. And then the draft starts. Then you may see a trade at number 3 or number 4. And then you're going to see this thing maybe start to get helter-skelter. But I think the Redskins are going to go with Chase Young. And I'm ready, just like you, for this pick. I'm ready to be excited. I'm ready to bring him home and look at this new era of Ron Rivera football in the nation's Capital. Thank you for the super chat. Hong Kong Fooey. I won't have any hen ready. I won't have any hen ready, but I may have a glass of wine or something like that, man. I might have one of my velvety smooth reds over here ready. Cheers, though, for sure. Cups up. All right. Anyway, got another super chat. This one from Adrian Jones. Thank you for the super chat, Adrian Jones. Greatly appreciated. My man Adrian writes, do you think Kyle will be able to find good value at the back end of the draft like last year? Love what he did in rounds 4 through 7. I have nothing but the utmost confidence in his ability to find that kind of talent. Look, guys don't forget how to evaluate. Now, this is a unique set of circumstances this year without having the ability to have guys come to your facility, sit down with them, interview them. I've talked about this already. This isn't new news. This is going to be a draft unlike any other, all right, or at least in recent memory. You know, you listen to old guys like Charlie Casserly, and the old fossils will tell you this is how we used to do it back in the day. We didn't have these elaborate setups. We didn't get 30 visits. Guys weren't coming to the facility, and we weren't getting to pick their brains and sit down and get to know them for a whole entire day. That's not how it worked back in the day. We watched film and we made a selection based off the film. That's what teams are going to have to do this year. Kyle Smith is a guy that I trust in. He's done a magnificent job since coming to Washington. And like you said last year, he did phenomenal work at the back end of the draft. There's still guys that we still think have immense potential that haven't necessarily had a chance to show it. Jimmy Moreland, the edge rusher from Oklahoma State. They're guys that we still think back into the draft could actually have an impact. And so I really think that Kyle Smith is a guy I trust to do damage, get value in those middle to late rounds. So I'm looking forward to him doing that again. The Terry McLaurin gym last year, I know that wasn't rounds 4 through 7. It was the third round, but still a hell of a pickup. Obviously, we don't know what's going to become of Wes Martin, but I think we may have gotten ourselves a starting guard there. And so we'll see what happens. Picked up some depth along the offensive line with the Alabama interior offensive lineman that we picked up in the later rounds. As I mentioned, Jordan Brailford. As I mentioned, the People's Corner, Jimmy Moreland. A lot of value that we feel like we got. And obviously, the guy that we think could have tremendous potential in the 6th round in wide receiver Kelvin Harmon. I thought he did some human-like work back into the draft last year, and I'm looking forward to him doing it yet again. So I'm with you on that one, Adrian. I think Kyle can find good value, and like you said, I thought he did a hell of a job last year in doing so. Thank you for the super chat. Del Wayne Owens with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Del Wayne. Greatly appreciated. Del Wayne writes, my bad. What happened to the prospect vids this year? I got jammed up, really busy. I switched my focus to things that I thought were more pertinent. But I can tell you this, next year they'll be back in full effect, but they will be on IG. So if you're not following me, Louie T Network _ on IG is where you need to be. But the prospects videos will be back in full effect next year. I have a lot more time to put those out, and they'll be up on the IG account. But as far as this year is concerned, I went with a different approach. I got a lot more done, but it came at the expense of the draft prospects videos. So that's what happened to the prospect videos. But thank you for your super chat, and thank you for your inquiry as well, wondering what happened to the draft prospect 101 videos. Leo Suarez, thank you for the super chat. Leo, greatly appreciated. Leo writes, he says, at this point, Young is the pick at number 2, but if the Redskins get over 6 picks, including a first this year, would you pull the trigger? Again, that's what I said. It all depends on what the deal looks like. First of all, I don't want 6 picks this year. I don't want 6 picks this year. Unless you're Miami. And even then, like, the value of 16 and 25 or wherever they are, okay? I think it's 18 and 25 or whatever it is. That, to me, those picks aren't as valuable. 5 is good. But I don't necessarily care that much for 18 and 25. You know what I mean? Like, to me, you might get good football players. You may get solid football players. You're not going to get a guy the caliber of Chase Young though at that pick. So for me, I'm more about I want this year's first. I'll take another one of those other first that I just talked about, preferably the one at 18. Then I want your first round next year, and I probably want your first rounder the year after that. I'm being greedy. It'll probably be the two this year, the one next year. I want a deuce, and I probably want like a four as well. I want a deuce this year and a deuce next year. Like I'm being stupid greedy. I want to make it so that you don't want to trade for the pick. And if you're like, nah, I still want to trade. Okay, then I'm gonna just take. I'm gonna absolutely pull the wool over your eyes at that point. You know, you set it up so that a team is like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna just go talk to Detroit. Thanks, but no thanks. And if a team is like, yo, yeah, we'll do it. You're like, seriously, you're gonna do it? They're like, yeah, we'll do it. Then you make the deal. You make it so it's almost impossible that anybody would want to make that deal. And if someone's dumb enough to do it, you got to pull the trigger. But um, the whole three picks for Miami in this year's first round and a second and a fourth, that doesn't appeal to me. That doesn't interest me. That doesn't move the needle for me because, again, I'll tell you right now, I don't think those three first round picks combined equal the potential impact of a Chase Young. I know that may sound crazy to some of you, especially if that guy at number 5 is Isaiah Simmons or Jeff Okudah, who are both extraordinary athletes with high ceiling potential at the next level in their own right. And then you add in maybe a tackle at 14, 16, 18, wherever that pick is. And then you add in, let's say, a corner at 20, whatever that pick is. Yeah, you may be getting tremendous value, but are those guys going to have the impact of a Chase Young? I don't think so. That's what I've been saying all along. That hasn't changed. And so, as you mentioned, the pick is Chase Young, but if the Redskins get a ridiculous deal that they cannot refuse, they probably have to pull the trigger. And as I mentioned, I might be disappointed, but I would not be upset at that move. Thank you for the super chat, Leo Suarez. Waleed Ashraf, thank you for the super chat, Waleed. Greatly appreciated. Waleed writes, do you think we would be able to get our second back? If you're talking about for Trent, I think that ship has sailed. I'm hoping the Redskins are pushing the envelope, trying to get that second back. That's the goal. Has been all along is to get at least a 2 for him. I think when deals get made during this time, though, it's all about compromise. And so if I'm the Redskins, I start out asking for that 2. The other team says, no, I won't give you a 2. How about a 4? And the Redskins say, no, I can't take a 4. How about a 2? And that team says, okay, how about a 3? And that's when the Redskins say, okay, how about a 3? And you slide in that slide in a 4 and you got yourself a deal. If I'm the Redskins, that's how this goes. I'd love it if they're able to get their hands on a 2. Early 2, and he's yours straight up. I don't need an extra 4th or nothing else. I don't need a 5th or 6th, nothing. Slide me that deuce, and we good. He's all yours. Take him. So I'd love to see the Redskins get their second back. The only way that I think they are able to get a second in this year's draft is if they trade up. And that means you're salvaging more of this year's draft and maybe even some of next year's draft, which I think the Redskins are not looking to do. So, again, I don't anticipate the Redskins having a second round pick this year. And it's just the way it is. And I'm cool with it because, as I've said already, Montez Sweat was fully worth the 34th pick in the draft. He really was. I don't have any regrets. I'm not lamenting the fact that we don't have a second round pick because the guy that we spent the second round pick on last year by the virtue of moving back into the first round in Montez Sweat, I'm very happy with the product that we got in Montez Sweat. Looking forward to seeing him blossom as a young pass rusher in this league. So thank you for the super chat, Waleed. Got another super chat. This one from All Day with Arian. Thank you for the super chat, All Day. My man AD writes, love AP, guys, and the boys, but do you think we are legit set where we overlook running back? Injuries and age are a major issue. You know what? Nothing would shock me in this year's draft if the Redskins decided to go linebacker when we think, maybe you don't need a linebacker. Running back, maybe you don't need a running back. Quarterback wouldn't shock me if they decided late in the draft, seventh round, they see a developmental guy that they want to pull the trigger on. Wouldn't shock me. But to your point, running back. This is the reason why I don't think running back is in the fold for the Redskins. They went out and they signed 77 running backs this offseason. They re-upped AD. They got Bryce Love coming off an injury, so that's like an acquisition. It feels like it at least. They went out and they signed um, the ex-Auburn running back from Tampa Bay. Shucks, forgot his name. It'll come to me. And they signed the ex-Detroit Lion slash Seattle Seahawk running back that I love as a pass catcher out of the backfield. So when you look at that crowded backfield, you're talking about 5 running backs. Peyton Barber, that's his name. Peyton Barber. You're talking about J.D. McKissick. You're talking about Bryce Love. You're talking about Darius Guice. You're talking about Adrian Peterson. It's 5 running backs, man. Like, how many are you really going to keep? Because if you spend a draft pick on a running back, especially if it's before the 6th round, if it's 5th round or sooner, you're looking to keep that guy. So, I feel like the Redskins are out of the running back market this year. Maybe next year, they get back into the running back market. But as of right now, they're going to assume that Geis is able to stay healthy, that AD is going to give them a little something, as he always does. Bryce Love is going to come back off the injury and stay healthy, start to show flashes and glimpses of what we thought he could be back in 2018. And I think, or 2017, I believe that might have been when he was outstanding. And I think they feel like J.D. McKissick, because I still think Peyton Barber is the odd man out, you know. But I think J.D. McKissick is the guy that they feel like could be their pass catching threat out of the backfield. There is no Christian McCaffrey. There's no one like him in the league, but J.D. McKissick offers you that kind of ability to catch it out of the backfield, run routes, because he was a receiver in college. For all intents and purposes, he was a running back playing, a wide receiver playing running back. So he's a guy that can catch the football. So I think the Redskins are going to bypass running back this year. But again, it wouldn't shock me if they saw a guy, identified some talent, and said, you know what, this guy, we want to add him to the mix and allow him to compete, because that's what this whole offseason has been about, competing. So if they decided to add another guy to the mix, it wouldn't shock me if that were the case. So thank you for the super chat, AD. Azzy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated, Azzy. Thank you so much for the super chat. Azzy writes, wouldn't be surprised if we drafted a running back since Ron doesn't like to commit to players he doesn't know. How does that affect the running backs? Some of these guys may not get a chance to compete. And that's kind of piggybacking off the last super chat that we just had from AD with Adrian, who pretty much said, do you think the Redskins are going to bypass the running back position? You know, it would not shock me. I've actually looked at a couple of mock drafts that were done, 7-round mocks for the Redskins that had the Redskins taking a running back in the later rounds, in the mid to late rounds. So, you know, there are some people out there that still think the Redskins are not done at running back. And, you know, Adrian Peterson, this is probably his last year in Washington. Geis, if he can't stay healthy, this could be his last year in Washington for all we know. The Redskins could say, you know what, we've done enough, we've tried enough, let's just move on, cut our losses with Geis. And now you're sitting there looking at, you know, 2 or 3 running backs, depending on what they decide to keep. You know, you could be staring at a situation where there's only J.D. McKissick and Bryce Love left on the roster. So maybe in their minds they're thinking it wouldn't hurt to bring in another guy to compete. You know, another young guy that we think is going to be durable, be able to stay healthy, and give us a little bit more competition in that backfield, and may the best men win. That could be the case. I still don't see that taking place. When you go out and you sign all the guys at the Redskins, even though they did not commit heavily financially to any of these guys, still, I think when you go out and you sign 2 running backs, you got one coming off of injury, you got 2 guys that were here last year. I think when you look at a backfield that has that many guys ready to go, I don't anticipate them adding a 6th back. There's one thing to say we want competition. There's another thing to say hey, we got so many guys that some of these guys won't even get an opportunity to compete. I don't think that's what they're looking to do. So I don't see the Redskins drafting a running back, but we shall see. Um, Redskins Pride W. Gill, thank you for the super chat. Redskins Pride, greatly appreciated. Redskins Pride writes, Lou, you must pick one to go, Sprinkle or Momo. If you talk about Morgan Moses, I don't have. See, I'm not one of those people that have a Morgan Moses problem. For me, it's Sprinkle all day long, all day strong. I don't have a Morgan Moses problem. Can we upgrade that position? Sure. But Morgan Moses is, as I've said numerous times, Morgan Moses isn't terrible. Yeah, he false starts on just about every meaningful third down, but they don't call it. So as long as he's not being flagged for it, I'm fine. All right. Does he get an occasional hold? Sure. Most tackles around the league do. But you could do a hell of a lot worse than Morgan Moses. Trust me. All right. Trust me. I watch the league every week. I see teams struggling at right tackle every week that would love to have Morgan Moses. So for me, that's Sprinkle. Morgan Moses isn't, to me, he isn't a liability right now, like a lot of you make him out to be. He's got his shortcomings. And, this could be his last year here for all we know. But at the end of the day, you can do a hell of a lot worse than Morgan Moses, as I've mentioned. All right. And in this league where you don't want to create holes when you've already got enough of them, the Redskins don't have a right tackle problem right now. I'm not looking to create one. So thank you for the super chat. Got another one from my man JP. Thank you for the super chat, John Perez, who writes, even if we land OJ Howard, I would still like to get a tight end in the draft. I also heard that Chase Young said he wants to wear number 99 with the Redskins. I saw that tweet from JP Finley as well, that if Chase Young were to be drafted by the Redskins, he wants to wear 99. I think that jersey number, don't kill me if I'm wrong here, don't quote me here, but I believe 99 is already occupied by Caleb Brantley. Last time, look, I haven't seen Caleb Brantley, it feels like, in 2 years. He's never healthy. He's never on the field. But last time I checked, I think he was the one occupying 99. I have no problems telling Caleb, hey, look, bro, you ain't got to go, but you got to get the hell up out of 99. All right? There's plenty of other 90s. You're more than welcome to 92. Chris Baker is no longer here. You're more than welcome to any of the 90s that's not currently occupied, but you got to come up off of 99, bro. Sorry. So we'll see about that. But I did hear that. And also, as far as still drafting a tight end, if the Redskins were to go after OJ Howard, that's interesting. That's interesting that you bring that up, because I could see the Redskins doubling down on tight end, even though they would have acquired a tight end. But this is the thing, and this is why I don't think they would do that. In order to get OJ Howard, you'd have to give up some draft capital. All right. So in essence, you're spending a draft pick on a tight end. His name is OJ Howard. So let's say it takes, theoretically speaking, let's say it takes a 4th round pick. Bucks gave up their 4th. They want to recoup a 4th, similar to what the Redskins did when they traded for Kyle Allen, gave up a 5th, and then went and got their 5th back essentially by trading Dunning for a 5th. Let's say the Bucks say, we moved our 4th, we want a 4th back. All right. If I'm the Redskins, I don't want to give them our 4th. You got to take that compensatory 4th. All right. Like, it would kill me if it were our 4th, because the Bucks just got a better 4th. They gave away their 4th and then upgraded their 4th. That just sticks in my craw, even though that has nothing to do with us. I guess I'm salty because of what happened to us. We gave up our 5th and then turned around and got a 5th back, but we moved back 14 spots. Like, I'll be really salty if the Bucks gave up I think they are the 14th pick in the draft. So I'd be real salty if they were able to trade away their 4th, get Gronk, and then go up 12 spots and get a 4th back and move up 12 spots. Like, that would make me really salty. So bottom line is, I don't think the Redskins would draft another tight end in addition, especially they added 2 tight ends this offseason. Similar to the running back position, there is something to be said about too many cooks being in the kitchen. You already had 2 tight ends on the roster and Sprinkle and Hale Henches. You added a couple more tight ends this offseason, Richard Rodgers and the ex Virginia Tech product. And if you add OJ, that's 5 tight ends. That's 5 tight ends. Now, could they add a 6th? Sure. Because unlike the running back position where I feel like 4 of the roster spots are spoken for at running back, which is why I feel like Peyton Barber is the odd man out. If everybody's healthy, the tight end position is up for grabs. None of the guys that we signed moved the needle for me. So I feel like you could, in essence, trade for OJ and still draft a tight end. But I think if the Redskins traded for OJ Howard, I think they would start looking to spend their draft capital elsewhere. That's just my personal opinion. But thank you for the super chat, JP. Barrett Downing, thank you for the super chat as always, BD, holding the program down. Thank you for the super chat, BD, who writes, keep doing it, bro. Looking forward to the shows. Indeed. Indeed. Thank you for the super chat once again, BD. My man JP, double up, for my man JP. Thank you for the super chat, John Perez, who writes, do you think the Redskins might have told Chase Young in advance that they're going to draft him? I don't think they have. I think he knows that, he is the best player in this draft. He should be going number 1, as I stated on my Redskins or on my Draft Prospects 101 series. He should be the number 1 pick in this year's draft. But because Cincinnati needs a quarterback so desperately, and there's actually a guy that warrants the number 1 pick in Joe Burrow, and really if Tua were healthy, he would be in that conversation in the mix as well. It's okay for him not to go first, but he knows he shouldn't be going anywhere less than 2nd in this draft. So to me, I think that he understands the dynamic that's in place and at work, and he knows that, barring some kind of unforeseen circumstance, he's going to end up a Washington Redskin. And I think he wants to be here in Washington. Dwayne Haskins is one of his really good friends. And so it all is what it is, man. I think he knows that at the end of the day, he's going to end up being a Redskin. Think that's what it's going to ultimately be. So thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate that. Let's see. I'm reading some of y'all comments on the comment section. Y'all talking about my connection. Hey, look, man. So I'm using the dual screen. Y'all know about that, the LG phone that I promoted earlier this year, and it's not connected to my cell phone provider. So let me say this. After this offseason, I'm going to upgrade because my current cable provider is they're solid. They're just not the best. And I've actually got one of the best packages with them in terms of my internet. But, when you're sharing internet with multiple people, this is what happens. And so somebody was saying in one of my other shows, look, bruh, you got to get Verizon Fios, man. That's an individual hookup to just your house. That's probably what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to look into getting something that's individualized for just me, especially for what I do. So know that, we may have some turbulence here and there, but in the future, I'm going to tighten all of this up. So I appreciate y'all rocking with me nonetheless. Anyway, Adrian Jones, double up, for my man Adrian Jones, says Sweat in 2 years. Thoughts? 4-4 is in fact 4-4. I think the sky's the limit for this guy. And what makes me even more excited about him is if you're pairing him with Chase Young, I've always said that in this league, There's nothing better than a tag team. Tag team back again. All right. It's nothing like a tag team. And when you look at Chase Young on one side and now Montez Sweat on the other side, um, that could be a fearsome duo for many years to come. The only thing that, and I don't like looking, too far into the future, but the only thing that makes me nervous is what happens when it's time to pay these guys. Can you afford to pay both of them? Probably not. You know, probably not. You're probably going to have to pick. So the 49ers just had to pick. They had a tag team in the middle. The Oregon duo in the middle, the two trees, they had to pick one. They moved one and they picked one. So, but I don't want to think about that right now. That hurts my head. I just want to enjoy them for however long we have them as a duo here in Washington. So, in 2 years, I think Montez Sweat could be a legitimate double-digit sack getter. All right. He had 7 or 8 last year, and he started to come on at the end of the season. He could be a double-digit sack getter this year. If things go right, he stays healthy, yada yada yada. If this scheme fits him well, he could be a double-digit sack getter this year. And I mean, I'm looking for elite. And so if he can hit that 14 sack threshold and above, that means that he's officially hit elite status in this league. 12 sacks is a legit season, and Kerrigan has done that, I think at least once. But you can fall into a few sacks and get yourself to 12. It's when you get to 14 and 15 and 16, that ain't luck. Yeah, you can't get lucky and get 15 sacks in a season. That's skill, So I could see Montez Sweat 2 years from now being an absolute monster and being, a 13, 14 sack guy 2 years from now. So I'm looking forward to his development. I really want to see what he looks like in this 4-3 defensive scheme and how they deploy all of these guys. And I'm anxious to see these suckages because I want to put as many pass rushers on the field as possible. Sweat does not have to line up. Neither does Chase Young in a three-point stance. Both of those guys are very capable. As a matter of fact, at times Sweat looks more comfortable standing up. Whatever the case may be, I want to see these guys moving around. I would love to have an amoeba package where Sweat, Young, Kerrigan, Ioannidis, if Brailford turns out to be a legit rusher, if Orchard, one of those guys, I would love to have a package, and Ryan Anderson, all on the field at once, coming after the quarterback. Remember the Seahawks about 5 years ago or so had the NASCAR package? I want something like that here in Washington. We've got the guys to do it. I really believe that. Thank you for the super chat, Adrian Jones. Let's see. See if we got another super chat. We do. Redskins Bay, 12th man. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat, Redskins Bay. Key himself. Appreciate the super chat. Key himself. Also, once again, appreciate that super chat, Redskins Bay, 12th man. Key himself writes, Bobby Brown, Jeremy Sprinkle, gotta go. OJ and Hale. So Key himself is like, look, had enough of Jeremy Sprinkle. He's got to go. Let's replace him with OJ and Hale Hinches and keep it moving. We'll see if that does in fact take place. Jeremy, I think, is going to get an opportunity in camp along with Hale Hinches. I've said this since the start of this whole process, and this was before we got Richard Rodgers and the other tight end from Buffalo and Detroit. That you draft a tight end, maybe sign one in free agency, you draft another one, and then you let Hale Hinches and Jeremy Sprinkle battle it out for the final tight end spot. Well, the organization said, I'll do you one better. We're either going to trade for one in OJ or we're going to draft one and we're going to go out and sign two guys. So now it really limits the chances that either one of those guys makes the roster. Yeah, both of those guys could be on the outside looking in. Even though I think both of those guys are better than Richard Rodgers. So from that standpoint, I think they still have a legitimate shot. Now, if you go out and get OJ Howard or you draft a tight end, um, I think that now you're getting dicey because I think they really like the kid from Detroit. I think they really like the ex Virginia Tech product, and I think they really want to try to develop him. And if that's in fact the case, I think he's a guy that's going to have a really good shot at making the team. So now you're talking a draftee, one of the guys they signed in free agency, and then you got three tight ends maybe battling it out for one spot. So um, it could get really dicey here depending on how the Redskins handle, the next 4 days or so. It could get really interesting for the back end of the roster with these tight ends. But we'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat, Key himself. I think I got another super chat, and I do. Redskins 007 Moo. Appreciate the super chat. Redskins 007 Moo. Greatly appreciate it. Who writes, Jack Del Rio inherits 5 first-round picks on defense. Let's go. HTTR, let's go. And that's why I'm so bullish right now. No, in the past couple of years, we've talked about the Redskins defense, and a lot of you have been throwing out top 5. That's your favorite thing to say. Oh, we got a top 5 defense. Oh, we got a top 5 defense. And I'm like, oh, whoa. Slow your roll. Pump your brakes. All right? Don't try to move so fast. Drive slow, homie. Drive slow. All right? When you see them hazard lights with nowhere to go, drive slow, homie. And this year, though, I'm not really looking to pump the brakes. I'm not saying top 5. That's not my thing. But top half of the league, for sure, I'm looking to get right around that top 10 range, man. And I think it could happen. When you look at the talent on that defensive line, I don't know what's going to come of our linebacker position. That's, to me, the biggest enigma. I know we've talked about all these positions, but when I look at this team and this roster on the defensive side, I know we got question marks in the secondary. I'm well aware of that, but I'm really anxious to see what's to come of the linebacker position, because I look at the linebackers and I say, we got some stuff. Now, what does this stuff really look like? What does this stuff really bring to the table? I don't know, but I'm dying to find out, because I think these guys that we have on this roster are more suited for a 4-3 defensive attack. So now when you put guys in their proper element, I think Ryan Anderson is a really good, strong side backer. Where is Thomas Davis going to play? I don't know. I'm assuming he's going to be a potential strong side candidate as well. They love Cole Holcomb by all accounts. Ron Rivera has talked up Cole Holcomb numerous times this offseason. So he's a guy that I think they really like. He may be your middle backer. He may be your weak side backer. I don't know. But obviously, Reuben Foster, if he's healthy, he adds a different dimension to this defense that we haven't had in quite some time in terms of speed and explosiveness and dynamic ability. I mean, the sky is the limit for this defense if the linebacker position kind of ties everything together. So I'm anxious to see what Jack Del Rio is able to do with this defense. The D-line has a chance to be really special, has a chance to be the backbone, not just of the defense, but of this entire team. As you just mentioned so eloquently, Redskins 007, we invested 5 first-round picks potentially along this defensive line. Sweat, Kerrigan, the 2 Bama boys, and Young. That's 5 first-round picks along the defensive line. And if that is in fact the case, I would like to see those guys really be the backbone and the foundation of this football team moving forward. So I'm with you, man. I'm really excited about Jack Del Rio inheriting all of these different first-round picks and seeing what he can do with these guys. Thank you for the super chat. Protect Sports was good with you, Tones. My man Tones over at Protect Sports. Make sure you're supporting him and checking out his content. Appreciate the super chat, Tones. He says, bro, what's good? Glad I pulled up to the stream. I'm glad you did as well, man. Thank you for joining us. And thank you again for the super chat. See if we got any more super chats. We do. This one from Captain Gaming. Thank you for the super chat, Captain Gaming. Greatly appreciate it. Captain Gaming says, how true is the Trent Williams for Odell rumors? I don't think there is any legs nor merit to that whatsoever. Um, I've heard people talking about that maybe over the last, 72 hours or so. Um, Sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. And the general manager, the new general manager for the Cleveland Browns, has come out and said Odell Beckham is not on the block. But anytime you keep hearing someone's name over and over again, usually where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't think the Redskins, however, are involved in a guy like Odell Beckham. Again, just from the standpoint, I think I elaborated on this on Sunday when we had the live stream for the mock draft reaction video, where I essentially said, look, I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. is a guy that the Redskins are interested because they're looking to change the culture. I think getting a guy like Odell Beckham, and I know some of you may think that the Odell Beckham Jr. malcontent narrative is overdone and overstated, but he has a body of work. He has a track record of being a distraction, whether it's hitting the kicking net or throwing his helmet or throwing a temper tantrum on the sidelines, crying or berating teammates on the sidelines, whatever the case may be. He has shown the ability to be a malcontent in the locker room and a guy that can be somewhat of a headache to deal with. Now, a lot of what he does stems from his want to win. And I love his competitive spirit, but there are ways to go about that. And I think he goes about it all the wrong ways. And if you're Ron Rivera and you're trying to develop a culture and you've gotten rid of guys like Monte Nicholson and Quentin Dunbar because they were going against the grain of what you're trying to instill here in Washington, you brought in a guy like Thomas Davis to instill a culture. I don't think you bring in a guy like Odell Beckham to necessarily potentially tear it down. Now, again, is Odell Beckham Jr. As big of a headache as everyone makes him out to be? I don't know. I never met the guy. All right. I can just tell you what I've seen from afar. He's been on two teams in the last 2 years, and probably in what's been about a 6-year career in the NFL to this point, 4 of those years, he's been a malcontent in some way, shape, or form. All right. That's not a good average if you're a team looking to invest in Odell Beckham Jr., especially one like the Redskins looking to change not just a roster, but an entire culture. I don't think that those rumors have any merit to them whatsoever. Thank you for the super chat, Captain Gaming. Let's see. Got another super chat. This one from Rob U. Thank you for the super chat, Rob U. Greatly appreciate it. Rob writes, are there enough snaps to keep all the defensive linemen happy? Absolutely. Look, the ones that they really need to worry about keeping happy are the guys that you want to be here long term. What you want to promote is you want guys going out and leaving it all out on the field. So if you've got 5 consecutive snaps of going full bore, all right, 100%, emptying the gas tank after 5 reps, just know there's another guy on the bench. And that's if I'm Ron Rivera, if I'm Jack Del Rio, that's what I'm going to that's the message I'm promoting to my guys is, look, don't go out on the field half-assing, all right? Don't go out on the field loafing. Don't give me half of what you got. Give me everything you got, because I got guys on the bench that we believe in that are fully capable of giving you a blow. You're tired? Tap out. We'll come get you, okay? But, don't loaf on the backside of a play. Like with Chase Young, there was this argument that, he loafs on the backside of plays. I didn't have a problem with him doing that at Ohio State. Why? Because there wasn't another guy on the bench at Ohio State the caliber of a Chase Young. They weren't pulling him out. He didn't miss a ton of plays. He was on the field. for probably about 90 to 95% of their snaps. Now, that may be the case here in Washington as well. And so if you can, you got to run away from you might be able to take a snap or two off. But just know that we've got a bunch of guys that can come fill in, can do some work on this football team. And so I think, you're going to have guys like maybe Tim Settle and because Ioannidis is going to get his snaps. Payne is going to get his snaps. Allen is going to get his snaps. And I think really where the real discrepancy may actually take place is with two guys in particular, Tim Settle, and I think you may see Ryan Kerrigan by the season's end. You may be seeing him phased out of the rotation as much. I won't say he's not getting any snaps, but I could see a situation where Sweat starts to come on, Young shows early that this dude's legit, he's the real deal, and you find it really hard to take those guys off the field. So like I said, they're going to have to devise ways. They're going to have to get creative. I have full confidence that they'll be able to get everybody on the field, get them enough snaps, and keep everybody happy. And again, this isn't the NBA. If there's a bunch of snaps to go around, but if you're not happy, guess what? You don't have to be here. So you got to have a big voice to be able to be disgruntled about your snap count. And again, with the way Rivera is running this ship, I don't think anyone's going to speak up and speak out, even if they are disappointed with their snap count. So I don't have any doubts that they'll find a way to disperse the amount of snaps. But at the end of the day, I could really care less about who is disappointed in their snap count. If the guys in the game are producing at a high level, I want those guys on the field as much as possible, and I can give a damn about what anybody else is talking about. So we'll see what happens. But thank you for the super chat, Rob U. Double up, for my man Rob U, going back to back with the Jacks on the super chat. Rob writes, where does Reuben Foster fit if healthy? At middle linebacker. Well, you know what? I did read something interesting from J.P. Finley. So it was not J.P. Finley. It was John Keim. So let me walk that back a bit. John Keim actually said that Reuben Foster struggled at middle linebacker in San Francisco with the green dot. He did not do a good job of communicating and getting the play out. So maybe he's better at weak side backer. A healthy Reuben Foster is on the field. Period. End discussion. You find ways to get that kind of talent on the field immediately. Not immediately, immediately. So a healthy Reuben Foster is probably your weak side starting linebacker. All right, so he's your will. I think Thomas Davis is your strong side backer. He's your Sam, and I think Cole Holcomb is your middle linebacker. He's your Mike. So I think that's what the backer position looks like if everybody's healthy. And then you get a little rotation because there are other guys, as we talked about, Sean Dion. Obviously, you're going to see, and I think there's going to be a little bit of platooning in between with Thomas Davis and Ryan Anderson, because I think this defense is going to be a better fit for Ryan Anderson's skill set than the last defense. I think he's just going to set a physical edge. I think he could actually – I thought he showed us some things getting to the quarterback, showed us a little bit more of a burst last year. So that's part of the reason why that sub-package, whatever it is, I'm anxious to see what it looks like. And do they have one where Kerrigan, Anderson, Sweat, Young, all these guys are on the field at once? That would be a hell of a package. And I think a package where you're going to have guys that be able to win one-on-one matchups and then be able to hit home. So Reuben Foster, definitely a starter if he is, in fact, healthy. Sonny Rawson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated, Sonny. Thank you for the super chat. Sonny writes, is this channel what you do for a living, or is this on the side for you? What are some of your interests outside of football? What are you about? That's a pretty complex question. I can answer the first couple of questions. One, this is what I want to do for a living, but it's not quite what I'm doing for a living yet. So technically this is a side hustle, but the energy and the amount of time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears I put into this. That I want to do this for a living, but I'm not able to do that at this very moment. But maybe something in the future will allow me to do that. But that's why all of you guys' support, like you super chatting, Sonny, helps. Every bit helps towards me being able to potentially one day call this my life. But right now, it's just a side hustle. Um, what are some of my interests outside of football? What am I about? I'm about a lot of things, man. I'm pretty simple, but at the same time complex. If that makes any sense. Um, I like I like sports in general. Um, I love movies. I'm a big movie buff. Um, I enjoy family. I don't want to turn this in because I do a lot of that on my podcast. If you want to kind of find out who I am, more of who I am, the podcast is what you want to turn into and listen to. You might want to go back in the archives because I divulge a lot of that stuff on the podcast. But um, we could get into that another time. But I thank you for the super chat. This channel is what I want to do for a living. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting close. And it's continued donations from people like you that are going to help me get that much closer to my goal of ultimately doing this as my living. And not just, and this is not a hobby for me. This is more than just a hobby. So thank you. Anyway, I appreciate that. Philip Boyd with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Philip Boyd. Greatly appreciated. Philip writes, completely off topic of the draft. Terry hates Scary Terry. Yes, he does. He's already acknowledged that. He thinks that that's a played out nickname. It's been given to other people, most notably of recent ilk. Ex-Boston Celtic, now Charlotte Hornet guard Terry Rozier. He says, what new nickname should the fans get behind? I've heard of the McLaurin, the whole kind of word play on name. He liked that. He had a nickname that he said his boys back at the crib called him. He had said that. I don't remember what it is. Nicknames are they're iffy because they're supposed to be organic. When you start trying to force the issue on a nickname, you generally don't come up with one. I've just been calling him Terry, or McLaurin or 17. Until a nickname comes about that is suitable for him, that sounds good, I'm not going to continue to call him anything other than Terry McLaurin or Terry or McLaurin or 17, whatever, because right now I feel like we're trying to force it. And something will come up organically, and when it does, we'll know. We know when we hear a good nickname. Like when Jimmy Moreland, when the People's Corner came up, I thought that was a great nickname. We all jumped behind it. He's got to play ball, though, to keep that nickname around. But Terry did express the dislike for Scary Terry. And I remember Case Keenum trying to take all the credit in the world for it. Like he had come up with this brand new, unique nickname. But Terry didn't like it. And we'll see what happens this year. If he balls out like he did last year, we're going to have to figure out something for that young man because he was outstanding last season. Got another super chat. This one from Hate E. Thank you for the super chat, Hate E. Greatly appreciate it. Hate E writes, I'll take Brate for sixth or seventh or OJ for money. He's basically saying he'll take Brate for a sixth or a seventh right now, and he says a 4 right now for OJ, essentially. So this must be a Bucks fan. I take Cameron Brate off your hands too, man. Like either one of those boys are a massive upgrade over any tight end we have on our team right now. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be OJ Howard. If the Redskins said, look, we were all in on OJ Howard, and then the price got too steep for us, so we went with Cameron Brate. And as my man Reed would say, let's make America Brate again. I have no problem saying, hey, look, that Sonny D over there, that OJ, man, that shit was expensive. So we ended up getting you early and bright. Okay. And if they came at me with a little early and bright, amen, or some Tampico, I might be like, I'll take it, man. Beckers can't be choosers, man. I might have to take a sip of that Tampico or that early and bright. I'm good. I really would prefer the OJ, but if I got to take a substitute, and that substitute is Cameron Brate, as I've mentioned with Morgan Moses, you can do a hell of a lot worse. Cameron Brate is a really solid tight end in this league. And for a sixth or a seventh, hell, I'd do that shit in a heartbeat. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying Redskins currently don't have a sixth round pick. So it'd have to be a seventh right now. We got two of them. You know, I don't want to give up both of them, but look, who's crying over spilt milk of seventh rounders? I'm not. If you say, hey, either give me 1 6 or 2 7s, here my 2 7s go, man. Let me get Cameron Brate. So thanks for the super chat. Hey, E, man. I'll take Cameron Brate off your hands if you're giving them away like that. I take them off your hands for sure. Reese says, you got, I think I got another super chat. Hold on. Got another super chat. Stacy Secure, thank you for the super chat. Stacy Secure, greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Farrah Cody, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate the super chat. Farrah Cody. Farrah writes, Kerrigan will start over Sweat if Chase is good. I think you're right to start the season off. Farrah, I think you're spot on. I think they're going to make one of these young boys earn it. And it could be Chase, for that matter. They may not christen Chase a starter right away, but I will say this: if he's a beast right out of the gate, like they see him first practice and they say, "Oh my God, this guy is everything we thought he was," and then some. Rivera has already said he has no problem starting rookies, none whatsoever. If that is in fact the case, I think Young starts. Then you got to look at Montez, and are they blown away with Montez Sweat and what he brings to the table right away? If they are, Kerrigan could be the odd man out. At the end of the day, it's semantics. It's potato, it's tomato. It really doesn't matter because all of these guys are getting snaps. I think it matters to guys that are used to starting, but Kerrigan at this point of his career, I really don't think he's going to get bent out of shape about not starting. As long as he's playing and he's contributing, I don't think he's really going to care whether it's off the bench or it's in a starting capacity. Like I said, at the beginning of the season, Kerrigan may be your starter by the season's end. Barring injury, knock on a little bit of wood there, barring injury or some kind of catastrophe where one of these guys isn't playing up to par, Kerrigan will not be the starter at the end of the season. And that's what I'm more concerned about. Not how they start out, but how they finish. If they start out slow, but they pick it up, and let's say Chase comes out of the gate in the first 5 weeks of the season, he's only got a sack and a half. But in those final 11 games, he goes on a tear, 9.5 sacks, ends up with 11 for the season. I'm ecstatic. And on the other side, you got Montez Sweat starts off slow. First 7 games of the season, he's only got 2 sacks, but he picks it up. And in the final 9 games of the season, he's got 8 sacks. He's got double digits. Chase Young's got double digits. And by the end of the season, both of those guys are starters. That I wouldn't have it any other way. So we'll see what happens. But I think you're right about Kerrigan starting initially. I think he will start initially. So, whoa, got a massive super chat from my man, Sonny Rawson. Thank you for the super chat, Sonny. Greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it, Sonny. Thank you. Sonny says, I appreciate all the content you give us on a silver platter. You have the hunger for this and wish you well on that, man, that you would be the dream. I really appreciate that, man. It's contributions like that that get me that much closer to making this thing a reality for me and allowing me to chase my dream of doing this for a living because I absolutely love this. Love it. I love this, and this is what I want to do. And I thank you for that donation, Sonny. I really do, man, because again, that's definitely the kind of donations that are going to help me get to ultimately where I want to be. I really appreciate that. Um, Greatly appreciate that, Sonny. Got another super chat. This one from Jonathan Dunbar. Thank you for the super chat, Jonathan Dunbar. Greatly appreciated. Jonathan writes, I think the best case scenario for the Redskins in the first round draft is to trade back and draft Isaiah Simmons and Henry Ruggs and more impact than Chase Young. So again, here's the problem with your scenario, because when you say things like that, and let me thank you again for the super chat, Jonathan, and I want to thank Sonny once again for his super chat and everyone else who has super chatted tonight. But when you say things like that, Jonathan, here's the part of the equation that you're not really taking into consideration, and that's other teams affect the draft. It's not the Redskins in this bubble where you get to say, hey, we're trading back, and these are the players we're going to get from trading back. All right. This is the problem with a trade back scenario. You're not guaranteed to get anybody. Okay? The only way you're guaranteed to get a player is if that player is on the board at the time of your original selection and you move back one pick and the team that you're trading back with tells you exactly who they're coming up to get, and it's not the player that you were going to select. I.e., if the Redskins traded back from 2 to 3 and the Lions said, hey, no worries, we're just coming up here to get Justin Herbert, okay? Then you're still getting Chase Young at number 3. No harm, no foul. You're going to pick up some draft capital and you're getting your guy. But if you trade back to 5 with the Dolphins, there's no guarantee that Isaiah Simmons is there at 5. He could be gone at 4 to the Giants. He could be gone at 3 to the Lions. He doesn't have to be there. Okay, you talk about getting Henry Ruggs. And say, again, the only way you get Ruggs and Simmons is if you trade back with the Dolphins. So let's say you talk about trading back with the Dolphins. There's no guarantee that the Jets at 11 don't take don't take Henry Ruggs. There's no guarantee that at 12, the Raiders don't take Henry Ruggs. There's no guarantee that at 13, the 49ers don't take Henry Ruggs. There's no guarantee. You see where I'm going with this. There are no guarantees in this thing, man. You can't just say, yep, going to trade back, pick up picks, and we're going to get this guy, we're going to get that guy, we're going to get that guy. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works, okay? So when you trade back, you run the risk of missing out on players that you really want to draft. And instead of putting yourself in a position where that is possible, how about you just get the guy that makes the most sense at the top of the draft, and that's Chase Young. You know you're not going to miss out on him because you got a chance to draft him. You trade back, all hell breaks loose, and everything is then off the table, and everything is definitely out of bounds. Everything's at risk at that point. So you can't just say you trade back and you're going to get this player, that player, and that player. You know, you would hope that those guys are around, and you would hope that you have a chance, but that's not how the draft works. So thank you for the super chat, Jonathan Dunbar. Greatly appreciate that. See if we got any more super chats. All right, we do not have any more super chats. So we go to the phone lines, and I see a call. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. You're on live with your man, Louie T. Who am I speaking with?
What's going on, Louie? It's your man, JP. How you doing?
What's going on, J?
Well, we got a couple more days to go before draft day, so I thought I'd come on with a couple of things I wanted to ask. First thing, do you think a Trent trade is more likely to get done the day before the draft or during possibly round 1 or 2?
I think it is more likely than not a day 1 move because if you're trading Trent for day 2 selections, you want to have that done the day before, similar to what happened with Josh Rosen last year. They traded him during day one because it was a day two selection. So it kind of gives that team a chance to kind of decide what they want to do with that selection. You know what I mean? Um, if you do it the same day of that selection, it kind of puts you on the spot. Obviously, these teams have weighed a lot of options and they've kind of weighed the pros and cons. And hey, what if this happens? What if this scenario happens? What if this scenario poses itself? What do we then do then? It's a little different this year though, because you're not in your war room, and I'm thinking that these teams have done everything that they need to do to prepare themselves. But this is a unique set of circumstances this year. So if Trent Williams is going to be traded, I would assume it would be day one of the draft.
All right, that makes a ton of sense because you're not getting a first round pick for Trent.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And
right.
speaking of picks, assuming we get a second round pick in the Trent deal, do you think they're more likely to invest in tight end, offensive tackle, or maybe a best player available that they didn't think was going to be there?
I think they would go best player available. I think they would then be in a position to maybe even take a tackle, because you trade Trent, you're going to, and if that, if the deal doesn't involve a tackle, then you're going to need a left tackle. Now, maybe the Redskins all along in the back of their mind are saying, hey, look, we still got, um, Jason Peters and the tackle from last year, I forgot his name, on speed dial. And Donald Penn, there you go, on speed dial. And so maybe they're not as hard pressed to go after a tackle that, early in the draft. But at the end of the day, I think it's best player available. If you get a second round pick, you want to maximize that pick. You don't want to go chasing a position necessarily. Same thing with 66 overall, especially being that we don't currently have a second. They're going to use that as a second round pick. So they're looking to get the most value out of that pick. As you get into the fourth and the fifth and the sixth and the seventh round, then you start chasing needs a bit. It's still about best player available and getting value, but you'd like to also have that meet a need as well. But, when you're talking the first 3 rounds of the draft and you don't have a second round pick, that third round pick essentially turns into a second round pick. You're trying to get best player available. You're trying to get as much value as possible. And remember, we have our idea of what we think this roster looks like and the players that are good and not good. They have a totally different viewpoint. They're coming in, and remember, Rivera said, look, I don't know these guys. We know them. We've watched them. He doesn't know these guys. So he's like, look, you might think we're fine at receiver. You may think we're fine at, left tackle or guard or whatever. You may think we're fine there. We don't know that. So we're going to take another guy and we're going to bring him in to compete, and we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think we're going to see a lot of competition at a lot of these positions. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a quarterback competition between Dwayne Haskins and Kyle Allen, but it really, really does sound like that going into training camp, Dwayne Haskins is going to be, the starter. And if they do draft a tackle or maybe and a left guard, I would assume that they're going to have. Obviously, we still got Wes Martin. Obviously, we still. I think we might bring Donald Penn back, or we might get Jason Peters. I'm not quite sure, but they're going to have open competition at left tackle and left guard. The center, the right tackle, and the right guard spots are basically solidified at this point with Roudier and Scherf and Moses, assuming he stops getting penalized every two or three plays. So yeah, we're going to see plenty of competition at multiple positions. And the one thing that I can appreciate about this offseason is the fact that when before obviously Bruce Allen was fired, there were reports that Dan was he finally came to his senses that his way is not working anymore, and that it's time for me to bring football and people in here. I give a lot of crap. We all as fans, we give a lot of crap to Dan Snyder for the stuff he's put this organization through for 2 decades. But the one thing that I appreciate about him this year is that he fired Bruce Allen, that's number one, and he allowed a coach to come in here and make his mark and bring a culture in here that this organization hasn't had and got since Joe Gibbs, whether it be Joe Gibbs 1.0 or 2.0. That's the one thing I can appreciate from this offseason is that we're finally – Bruce Allen just wanted to build a roster. He didn't really give a damn about culture. Ron Rivera cares about culture, and that's what this franchise has needed. And I'm hopeful it's going to pay off in the long run. I really, really do.
Hey, I appreciate your call and looking forward to chopping it up with you, JP. Appreciate the call, man.
All right. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Right. Now, I've said this before because I think JP has made this point, and we've also seen other. I think I've had another person make that same point. It might have just been JP. I'm not giving I'm not giving Dan a damn thing. Okay, no credit. All right, for doing what he was supposed to do. Okay, he was supposed to fire Bruce Allen. It's probably 2 or 3 years too damn late. All right, and him allowing a coach to come in and do his job without interference, that's what he's supposed to do. I'm not giving him credit for doing things he's supposed to do. So, and we don't even know if he's going to allow. It's one thing. It's young. It's fresh. It's new. It's easy to sit back. All right. It's easy to sit back and do nothing right now and not intervene because nothing's going on. All right. Let's see Ron Rivera if he struggles out the gate, or struggles in year one. Let's see if Dan is still hands off. We'll see then. So, anyway, thank you for the super chat. All right, thank you for the call, JP. Got a super chat here. Extreme Trunks 21. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Extreme Trunks 21 writes, have you heard anything on Alex Smith's health? No, I have not. Remember, we made much to do about nothing early in the offseason when we saw the outside the lines. Remember, he sat down with Bob Lee, and they're supposed to be doing it was Jeremy Schaap, I think he sat down with. And they're supposed to be doing this documentary on him, following him around on his rehab and, on the road back to recovery. And he talked about his leg and all the scary stuff he went through. And I did a video on it, and we talked about it on the live stream. Then we saw, clips of him running and things of that nature. But after that, it kind of died down, and I haven't heard much in the Alex Smith department. I will say this. I told you before, I don't anticipate him playing football ever again. I still believe that to be the case. However, haven't heard anything on his status, but to me, the nail in the coffin for Alex Smith being a part of this roster from a playing standpoint. I think they love the fact that he's a mentor. You're going to pay him. You might as well allow him to have some kind of role on the team, and I think his role right now is that of mentor. I think the nail in the coffin was the trade for Kyle Allen. You don't trade for Kyle Allen if you think Alex Smith is going to be healthy and able to come in and compete for you. So for all intents and purposes, I think Alex Smith's playing career, at least in Washington, it could be, he could end up playing somewhere else down the road. I doubt that too. I think it's all but done. So we'll see what happens. But no, to your question, have not heard anything on the health of one Alex Smith. So there is that. Don't have any more super chats for the time being. So, and no calls coming in. So we will scroll back to the top, grab a couple comments and go from there. So see if we can grab a couple. And got one here. Let's see. Gonna skip that one. Gonna skip that one. And this one is from my man Reed. He says, you guys can have OJ. We'll still be making America great again. And with Gronk as his running mate. Yeah, we'll see, man. Um, hey, y'all are some savages in the comment section. I see y'all killing me over there. Somebody said, "Hey, you need to take this super chat money and upgrade his Wi-Fi." Man, y'all are some savages. I mean, some absolute brutes out there, man. Killing your man. Gosh, thought we was cool, man. Anyway, I got another super chat. I'm gonna go ahead and take that. One thing you'll learn about me, and I know my man Sonny had asked, you know, about outside of this. One thing you'll learn about me is I'm a funny guy. I love to laugh, and I don't take things personal, man. As long as you're not coming for me as an individual and attacking my character, we can laugh together, man. I'm a happy go lucky guy. I love to laugh. Um, so I don't take any of that stuff personal. Tylenol, my man Tylenol, thank you for the super chat. Tylenol, greatly appreciate the super chat. Tylenol writes, define culture for me. So culture in the sense of Ron Rivera and what he's trying to establish here is essentially a locker room that and so culture is a mindset. It's the way that you think about a common goal, essentially. When you have a culture, so when you think culture in the NFL and the most successful one in the recent, let's say last decade or two, the Patriots culture comes to mind. All right. And you call it what you want. I call it the B&B winning factory. Some people call it the evil empire. We've known it to be the Patriot way. That was the culture in New England, the Patriot way. What was the Patriot way? Do your job was their mantra. Okay. Doesn't matter what's going on the outside. Ignore the noise. You come in this building, you forget about everything outside this building. You come in here and you do your job. You do your job and you do what you're supposed to do, the way you're supposed to do it, the way we coach it up, and everything will work itself out. You be selfless. You put the team ahead of yourself and your achievements, and everything will work itself out. That was their culture in New England. We don't run our mouths. We don't bring embarrassment to this outfit. We do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it, and we'll win. We'll win ball games. That was their culture. Ron Rivera is trying to develop a culture here that says you're a Redskin. We don't have a culture right now in Washington. We haven't had one for quite some time other than dysfunction. That's been the culture in Redskins Park. Now, when you talk about culture and defining the term, it's a very objective term because culture can mean something different to someone else. Really, it's just the way that you carry yourself. And for an organization, you want guys competing for one common goal on the same page, and you want everyone thinking the same way. You want guys wanting to run through a wall for the guy next to him. You want everyone to be on one accord. You want everyone to be fighting for a common goal and no one outside of that realm, no one outside of the big picture that everyone is supposed to be striving towards together. And that's been the problem here. We've had factions like DJ Swearinger, had a clique and he didn't like these coaches and he would voice his opinion. And there would be people that wanted to roll with DJ. And then you get DJ saying one thing and then Jonathan Allen would come on and say, look, I don't know what the hell DJ is talking about, but what we were advised to do, what our coaches put us in position to do, we just didn't execute. I thought he called a great game plan. That's bad culture because everyone's not on the same accord. You got one guy over here trying to do his thing. You got another guy over here trying to do his thing. We need everybody on the same page. That's why he brought Thomas Davis in here. And you heard what Thomas Davis said. He said, Ron brought me here to be able to spread his message. All right. And so culture for this team is going to be Ron Rivera's way. All right. The Redskin way moving forward. You play hard. And Rivera's already laid this out. And if you haven't, and I've told you guys this before, But if you haven't already watched the Amazon program, All or Nothing, with the Carolina Panthers from the 2018 season, do yourself a favor. Go and watch it. You want to know what culture will be defined as here in Washington? Go watch that All or Nothing. You'll find out all you need to know about who Ron Rivera is and what he's looking to instill here. All right. There was a clip there about when he first got there in Carolina. And he laid these guys out. You know, he told them this is bullshit. If you don't want to be here, you can go. If we tell you to do something, you do it our way. And when you don't do it our way, that's the kind of bullshit that's going to happen. He laid into them. They weren't all in. They weren't buying into what he was selling. And as a coach, buy-in is so important. And that's why Rivera's getting rid of guys that aren't buying in, i.e. Trent Williams, i.e. Quentin Dunbar. You can't have guys going against the grain when you're trying to establish a culture. There should be one voice that resonates and everyone else should follow in line. And that's essentially what you're trying to establish here is a culture, a way of doing things in one fashion. Okay, one message, one goal from one man, and everyone else follows. And so that's what I look at is culture, especially when you're talking about in sports, in a locker room. Thank you for the super chat, Tylenol. Got a super chat from Evan Higgins. Appreciate the super chat, Evan Higgins. Evan writes, keep up the good work. Did you watch MJ's The Last Dance? Come on now. What kind of question is that, Evan? You already know what the answer is to that, man. Of course I watched. I could have binge watched all 10 episodes on Sunday night. I was ready. I was a massive Bulls fan, really a massive Scottie Pippen fan. Growing up, I idolized Scottie Pippen. I wanted my game to mirror his. I did everything like Scottie Pippen. I wanted to be just like Scottie Pippen on the basketball court. So I was a massive Bulls fan growing up because I was a Scottie Pippen guy. So this is right down my alley. Of course I watched it. Thank you for the super chat. Got another super chat. This one from Martin Matthews, my man, Double M. Thank you for the super chat, Double M. Greatly appreciated as always. My man, Double M, Martin Matthews writes, hey, Louie, been a while. He says, say Skins end up with a pretty good tackle and a true number 2 or number 1 wide receiver. What holes do you see us having to prevent us from having a playoff or wild card run instead of a predicted bad season? If you end up with a tackle, let's say that they draft Charles, and I, first of all, never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. So obviously, I don't trust Sadiq Charles, okay? He's got 2 first names. Can't trust a man with 2 first names. That being said, let's say Sadiq Charles is drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, all right? And he ends up starting for the Redskins after a Trent Williams trade. And he balls out, man. We have no issues on the left side. And that's that wide receiver number 2 that you talked about the Redskins drafting. Well, he's playing like a damn number 1, similar to what Terry did last year. And let's say Terry takes his game to the next level, and all of a sudden you got Terry playing like a bona fide 1, and you got this rookie playing like a bona fide 1A. All right. And all of a sudden now, the offense is starting to take shape. You get a little semblance of a run game because Terry's stretching the field vertically, so you can't afford to put 8 in the box. So now the run game's having a little bit of effectiveness. They get nosy. They bring an extra defender in the box. You go over the top. It's a beautiful, vicious, flavor, delicious, poetic scripture type of cycle. And now the offense is kind of rolling. You still need a tight end. You still need a security blanket over the middle of the football field. But again, even if those things play out, the Redskins, look, if you get that kind of production from those two particular positions and the defense plays at the level that we think they're capable of playing, this team has a chance. As I mentioned, the league is set up for you to have an opportunity to win and turn it around right away. Nobody's giving us a chance. That's the way we like it. We've said that before. We do our best work as underdogs when nobody's expecting it. What I want to see from this team is have success. Everyone expect it, and you still deliver. We haven't been able to do that. But as of right now, if you get the tackle, if you get the number 2 receiver, and Chase Young is what we think he is, and his defense follows suit, you got a shot. You got a legitimate shot to win 9-10 games and throw your hat in the playoff discussion. But again, the likelihood of you finding a tackle that comes in and balls, a number 2 receiver that comes in and plays the way Terry played last year, and then have Terry take that next step, a tight end that comes in and all of a sudden gives us a credible threat over the middle of the football field and can block, a run game that actually keeps the rest of the offense balanced, and a defense that takes a monumental step forward. Keep in mind, we weren't good on defense last year or the year before that or the year before that or the year before that or the year before that. We haven't been good on defense in ages. So you're asking Jack Del Rio to come in and turn around what has been a morbidly bad defense for quite some time. I'm not saying these things can't happen, but it's a long shot that all of them at once happens. You get the tackle, you get the receiver, you get Chase Young, the defense balls out, and we don't get injuries, and we win the turnover battle. You're asking for an awful lot. But the one position, to answer your question, that you would need to add into that mix, I feel like, because we're assuming that you get the tackle, you get Chase Young, you get the receiver, you got to add a tight end. You have to add a true difference-making tight end, or at least a guy that gives you something. We haven't had anything at tight end really for the last, I won't say 2 years, because Vernon Davis gave us something 2 years ago, and we got a little something from Jordan Reed 2 years ago. But last year, we got really nothing from the tight end position. So you need something from the tight end position. Thank you for the super chat, Martin Matthews. Greatly appreciate it. Got another super chat, this one from Brian Hutchinson. Thank you for the super chat, Brian Hutchinson. Greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate the super chat that I just got from Martin Matthews. Also from my man Sonny. Really appreciate the big donations tonight. And also all the others in between. Thank you for all of your super chats, comments, and all of your participation. All of you who are in the comment section and watching this video live. Once again, thank you for the super chats, guys. And thank you once again for the super chat, Brian Hutchinson. Brian writes, "Hey, Louie, showed up late, but lifelong Skins fan out in California. Love what you do. Just added you on IG. Appreciate that, Brian, and anybody else out there. Quick time for a shameless plug. If you haven't already, follow me on IG, Louie T Network _ I'll get it done. Thank you for that." He says, "Thoughts on whether you'd like a potential Kenny Stills trade if we got him cheap for a 6th or a 7th?" I don't have any problems with Kenny Stills. I like him. And Kenny Stills is the quintessential number 2 in this league. I talked about a number 2. Kenny Stills is exactly what you're looking for in a number 2. Here's your issue. Kenny can't, I don't think he's that old. I think he's still relatively young. So he would fit in the timeline that the Redskins are on right now. But what year of his contract is Kenny in? And is this a rental? Even if it was a 1-year rental, I wouldn't mind that, because if he performs at a high level, wouldn't you want to bring him back? I mean, that's essentially what the Redskins did this offseason, is signed a bunch of guys that have to prove it. And if they do, you then assume that you're going to want to pay these guys. And I would love to see what Kenny Stills has for a 6th or a 7th round pick. Absolutely. I'd do that in a heartbeat. But again, we don't have a sixth round pick. So when you start talking about, late round selections, the Redskins have a 5 and they have 2 7s. There is no 6. So, there's a question of what would someone really be like what the Texans gave up. And I know Kenny was just a throw in, he was an added extra value toss in to that deal. They really were after the left tackle, Laramie Tunzel. But Kenny Stills is no slouch. So for what they gave up, I can't see the Texans now. Look, Bill O'Brien has done some really foolish things. And I wouldn't put it past him to do something stupid like give Kenny Stills away. But after trading Nuke and not really having a bunch at the receiver position, yes, they went out and traded for Brandon Cooks, and they still got Will Fuller. I wouldn't give Kenny Stills away. And if he's available, I'm looking for at least a 4th round pick for Kenny Stills if I'm the Texans. So if you could get him on the cheap for a 6th or a 7th, I'd give them our 2 7s in a heartbeat for Kenny Stills. So that's just me. But because like I said, we need a number 2. Kenny Stills is a legit number 2 in this league. Love Kenny Stills. Loves what he's able to do. So I'd definitely be willing to give that up. Appreciate the super chat there. Got another super chat. This one from my man JP, tripling up. Appreciate you, JP. My man JP writes, in terms of our schedule, who do you think we're more likely to get week 1? The Eagles for the 3rd time in 4 years, or Joe Burrow and the Bengals? That's interesting. They are supposed to release the schedules on May the 9th, I think it is. If I had to guess, so we started on the road last year. We started on the road the last 2 years. If you remember, 2 years ago, we started out in Arizona, came home and laid an egg versus Indianapolis for the home opener, and nobody showed up, and that was alarming. And that was a trend that would continue. So 2 years ago, we started in Arizona. Last year, we started on the road at Philly. I think we're going to be home this year. So you got to look at the home schedule. I don't think it's going to be Philly again. And I don't think it's going to be an NFC East opponent this year. I think it's going to be someone outside of the division. Now, whether it's whether it's a AFC opponent or an NFC opponent, it remains to be seen. But the NFL does like to put those kind of matchups together. Your number 1 overall pick versus your number 2 overall pick, and a week 1 matchup makes a ton of sense. But I'm not sure that they go right to the well week 1. So especially with the fact that this season could be abbreviated, I think they might push that one back a little bit, give those guys a chance to establish themselves, build up some excitement for that matchup, and then maybe do it. But there may not be any more excitement than week 1 for that matchup. So that's a pretty interesting take. I don't know if the Redskins play the Bengals at home or over in Cincinnati. I'd have to take a look at the home and away schedule. But I'll go out on a limb and say this. I don't anticipate the Redskins playing a team in the division week 1. I will go out on a limb and say that. I do not know if it'll be the Bengals or an AFC team for that matter week 1. And I do think they're going to be home as well. Let me add that caveat in as well. I think they're not going to play a team in the division, and I do think they're going to be at home this year after being on the road the last 2 seasons. So there is that. Thanks for the super chat, JP. Got another super chat from DCJ. Just wanted to support. Thank you for the super chat, DCJ. Greatly appreciate that. Got another super chat. This one from Brian Haynes. Thank you for the super chat, Brian Haynes. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Brian. And Brian writes, keep up the good work, Lou. Thank you, Brian, for your super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Let's see. I think we got another super chat. Yes, we do. Got a big boy from Brian Hutchison. Double up. From my man Brian Hutchison. Really appreciate that, Hutch, man. Thank you so much for the super chat, Hutch. Man, really appreciate that. You guys have been coming through with the big super chats and donations tonight, man, and I really do appreciate that. So, thank you for the super chat, Brian Hutchinson. Greatly appreciate that. Really, really do. Brian, Sonny, all of you guys that have donated tonight, really appreciate you. Brian with a massive super chat like Sonny did earlier. Thank you guys. Really appreciate that. Brian writes, favorite mock I did on PFN. Um, Number 2 overall, Chase Young. Uh, Number 66 overall, Chase Claypool, wide receiver, Notre Dame. Number 105 overall, Devin Asiasi, tight end, UCLA. I'm loving this mock draft right away, just so you know. And number 108 is Van Jefferson, wide receiver out of Florida. Number 32, Hakeem Adeji out of Kansas, the tackle, who is extremely raw, would not probably be ready to go right away, but does have some upside. 142nd overall would be Kendall Vilder out of Georgia Southern, the cornerback, a guy that I looked at long and hard for my mock draft before deciding on Robinson out of Tulsa. 162nd overall, Sadiq Charles, tackle out of LSU. 216th overall, the Curious Keys, who's a cornerback. Don't know him. And then 229th overall, Javelin Guidry, a safety slash corner out of, I want to say, Utah. The guy that ran the 40, the fast 40 at the combine, and then blew a tire. But I think he ran like a 4.27 or something like that. Is the final pick. So, I mean, this is a hell of a draft. If this were the Redskins draft, I would be elated. I would be on cloud nine if this ended up being the haul here. The first 4 players, you could stop the draft literally after the first 4 players, and I'd be done. You know, if the Redskins walked away with that haul after the first 4 picks, you got me. Now, you know, you go 2 picks later or 3 picks later, excuse me, to Sadiq Charles, and I'm like, shit, the Redskins killed it. You know, they absolutely murdered the draft. This is a hell of a mock draft. I'd love it if it played out this way, but we never get what we want, and I don't assume that it's going to end up being this way. But that is a hell of a haul, man. Like, you know how I feel about Van Jefferson. You know how I feel about Devin Asiasi. Chase Claypool has immense potential. I'm a Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. I think there's so much untapped potential in Chase Claypool. He's got things you can't teach: size, speed, all of that good stuff. Sadiq Charles is a guy that I think has tremendous potential. He's raw, and you gotta check the off the field stuff with him. But you know, that's a hell of a mock draft there. So really, really, really like that. Appreciate that super chat once again, Brian Hutchison. Great super chat there. Great mock draft. Rob Weeda, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it, Rob. Thank you so much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Rob writes, just listening and throwing support, Lou. Thursday can't come fast enough. Thanks for what you do. You ain't lying, Rob. You know, Thursday cannot get here fast enough. You know, and you're going to hear more about the Redskins entertaining offers at number 2. And I just want to put all of that to rest and turn in the selection already. So Thursday can't get here fast enough. And I'm hoping that you guys will join me on Thursday as we watch the draft together. Um, let's see. Got another super chat from DCJ. Double up. For my man DCJ. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. DCJ writes, I say keep Trent, 2 or 3 year deal, 16 to 18 million max, draft Chase, in offense, other picks or trade. Make a legit run this year unless injuries slow us down. Question mark. So here's the problem. Trent doesn't want to play here. I mean, can't force a guy to do something he doesn't want to do. You don't want a guy that doesn't want to be a part of what you're doing. Um, um, it was Tylenol earlier that asked about culture, define culture. You want guys that want to be here. You want guys that are buying in. That's what a culture is all about. Guys that believe. All right. And Trent doesn't believe. Trent doesn't want to be here. And, you know, you listen to Trent's camp, and it was Rivera that came off as not interested and told Trent that he had to prove it. And you listen to, you know, people in the Redskins camp, and they're saying, you know, Rivera was more than open to keeping Trent. And Trent came in abrasive and essentially saying, you know, you went and you talked to Greg Olsen before you talked to me and this, that, and the third. Look, at the end of the day, at this point, wash your hands clean of Trent. All right? Wash your hands clean. Move forward with guys that want to be here and keep it pushing, man. You know, I want Trent just as much as the next man, but that ship has sailed for me. You know, I, I got my hopes up again after I told myself he was gone last year at the trade deadline. And already, you know, this whole situation is taking us on this emotional roller coaster. I'm not getting back on the roller coaster again. I'm done with Trent. I'd like them to move on from him. I want good value for him though. And so I'm on board with them holding on to him. And if they don't get it at the draft, we see where we move on from there and see what happens. But I think it happens at the draft. I don't anticipate, nor do I see any scenario in which Trent Williams is able to come here, make amends, and play on this team and not have any issues. I just don't see it happening. Thank you for the super chat. Got another super chat. This one from the great Watubi. Thank you for the super chat, the great Watubi. Really appreciate that. The great Watubi writes, Vegas has the Redskins win total at 5.5, tied with two other teams for the lowest in the NFL. You think we win 6 or more games next year, or would you take the under? I think that number is actually 4.5. It might have went up to 5.5. I thought I heard 4.5. Either way, I would take the over. Last year, remember, I told you guys I thought we were going to be bad. So last year, I think the number was 5.5 last year. I think it's 4.5 this year. Either way, last year I told you I think we could be bad. I didn't think we were going to be 3-13 bad. I thought we were going to be 5-11 bad. So 6-10 bad. I didn't think 3-13 was really a possibility until I saw this team. I think it was week 3 against the Bears where I really realized, oh shit, we're really bad. We're not a good team at all. I think this team was a train wreck last year and we won 3 games. We were poorly coached. We had turmoil. We had, coaching change early in the season. You had injuries. You had everything that could go wrong did go wrong last year. And you still managed to win 3 games. With a much better coaching staff, a much better situation, you're bringing in players that don't necessarily make the roster tenfold better, but it's a better spot. Don't you assume that Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, and company are worth 2 to 3 wins just by themselves off of last year's total? You've got to assume that. And if you assume that, you take the over. Vegas, the boys out in the desert, as they say, they do this for a living. They're not stupid. They don't just pull these numbers out of thin air. But what they're saying is they think that this offseason and the uncertainty of it, coupled with coaching staff, coupled with a roster that isn't that talented in their eyes, coupled with probably the one chief thing, the quarterback position, and Dwayne Haskins, they don't believe in him. They're saying we're going to stink this year. I think they are wrong. They're right to think that we're not going to be one of the better teams in this league, but they're wrong to think we're going to be one of the worst teams in the league. I feel that way. I think we're going to be middle of the pack. Ron Rivera is good for outside of his first year in Carolina. Now, you could argue this is on par with that. Outside of his first year in Carolina, and I don't remember what they did his first year in Carolina, but I think it was that was Cam Newton's first year. I think they went 7-9. That's what I think we're gonna do here. 6-10, 7-9, somewhere in there. I just it's 5.5, 4.5, whatever that total is. It's too low. It's too low. So I would take the over. Thank you for the super chat, the great Watubi. Thank you for the super chat, Joe B. Greatly appreciate that. Got another super chat from my man Joe B. Double up. For my man Joe B. Thank you for the super chat, Joe B. Greatly appreciate it. Joe B. writes, do you want to take a flyer on A.B. at wide receiver? Again, same thing I said with Odell Beckham. No, because of the culture that they're trying to instill here, he's counterproductive, counterintuitive to building a culture where everyone is for the guy next to him. All for one, one for all. That's what you're looking to promote in your locker room. One message, one common goal, everyone on one accord. You generally don't get that with an Antonio Brown on your team. And like I said, this guy needs help. Until I know he's gotten the help he needs, I wouldn't trust him on any NFL roster for that matter. AB is a supreme talent, no doubt about it. All right, makes any team in this league that much better, including this one. However, the guy is without a doubt a distraction of epic proportions. He's worse than Odell Beckham. Okay, way worse. You say what you want about Odell Beckham. He's not getting in trouble off the field. Okay, his tantrums they start on the field and sometimes they bleed over into the locker room, but he's not getting in trouble off the field. All right, say what you want about Odell. He wants to win, and sometimes he goes too far in trying to win. AB is a totally different animal. He's getting into shit on the field, in the locker room, and off it. So, no, I think I wouldn't take a flyer on AB. Thank you once again for the super chat, Joe B. Greatly appreciate that. ONP, thank you for the super chat, ONP. Greatly appreciate it. ONP writes, how would you feel about Dalton Keene, tight end out of Virginia Tech? I like Dalton a little bit. Dalton, you know what he is? He's more of an H-back. More of a move guy, fullback, a wing back. Less of a tight end. I didn't see that much of a tight end. I saw more of a guy that was a move piece per se. So he's solid. But I don't think he moves the needle. If you draft Dalton Keene as your lone tight end, I still don't think you have a tight end number one on your team. If you drafted or you traded for O.J. Howard or you traded for Cameron Brate and then you drafted Dalton Keene, okay, I'd be cool with that because I think he could be a solid number two option, number three, somewhere in there. But if you're telling me we drafted Dalton Keene in the late rounds and that's a guy that we're looking to start down the road, I'd tell you, nah, that's not what you do there. So I actually got a breakdown of Dalton Keene, but I can't reach it right now. but I broke him down. He was one of the last tight ends that I actually got a chance to watch. So thank you for the super chat. The great Watubi, double up, for the great Watubi, doubling up. Thank you for the super chat. Great Watubi writes, you think we play games without fans at least to start this season? Absolutely, without a doubt. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be shocked if we played this entire season without fans. Personally, it wouldn't shock me. I can tell you this much: if, and this is a big if the season starts on time, it will start on time without fans in the stands. I can assure you of that. Okay. First of all, I think Trump opening back up the country is way too soon. I think it's a problem. I think we're going to see this thing spike, and it's going to make matters worse. I think. I understand that you want to send a jolt back into the economy and all that, but I don't think it's the right thing to do. So I don't think you can allow fans in the stands when this season starts, because I don't think this thing is going to curve the way that they want and flatten out. I think it's about to spike. And I think you're going to be in a position where, in order to play games, you're going to have to keep these players isolated. And I think you're going to have to play these games without fans in the stands. So I would pretty much say it's a safe bet that if this season starts on time, it's going to do so without fans in the stands. And I would take it a step further. Even if it started late, you would probably start with no fans. I just don't see a situation where fans are back in the stands and attending games until there is something definitive that cures you or makes it less likely that you could die, or there's a vaccine or something like that. I really think it's not really safe until there's a vaccine. But the vaccine, they've already said, isn't coming for a year to 18 months. So I can't see fans in the stands. So thank you for the super chat. Great. Watubi. Really appreciate that. Gear Cell 1. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Gear Cell 1. Gear Cell writes, before the draft, who is the starting secondary week 1? Remember, brown slacks and white socks is a no-no. Oh, man. Week 1 starting secondary, if I had to guess right now, without the draft, as you mentioned, you will have your starting safeties would be strong safety is Landon Collins. Free safety is Sean Davis. One boundary corner is Fat Moreau. The other boundary corner is Kendall Fuller, and that's your base. So you're not playing with a nickel in base. 3 linebackers, 4 defensive linemen, 4 secondary members. As you kick to nickel, I think it switches. Kendall Fuller goes inside, and then you get the Ronald Darby outside. And so your secondary then looks like this. Landon Collins, Sean Davis, Fab on the outside, Ronald Darby on the outside, Kendall Fuller on the inside. So right now, outside of any unforeseen, changes or circumstances, that's what I think the starting secondary looks like week 1 prior to the draft. After the draft, it could change. It may not change. We'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat, Gear Cell 1. Ainsley Chance, greatly appreciate the super chat. Thank you so much. Ainsley Chance writes, just showing love. I appreciate that, Ainsley. Thank you so much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate that, Ainsley. Appreciate you just showing support. All right. So with that being said, that is the final super chat that I see. And we've been at it for now over 2 hours. I didn't even realize it was this late. I was having so much fun. Time flies when you're having fun. I didn't realize it was past 11 o'clock already. But we've been at it now for over 2 hours. I thank you guys for picking up and transplanting over from the first stream to the second stream. I really appreciate that. Make sure you like the video on the way out. You know, I see 400 people watching, but only 84 likes. Let's get those likes up, guys. On the way out, make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already done so. I appreciate you guys joining me. Unless we get a Trent Williams trade or OJ Howard trade, I will see you guys on Thursday talking Redskins football. Then the draft party is going to be opened up to everyone. But we will talk a ton of Redskins ball while we're there. We're going to have a ton of fun, man. I cannot wait. Bart Scott can't wait for the draft. As I usually do, I'm going to have a pregame for the draft. So that's going to be from 7:30 to 8. And then we're going to stop that stream. And then we're going to go to the live draft party at 8. Should be a bunch of fun. Do this every year. Enjoy it every year. I think I'm going to do it with a twist this year. So be on the lookout for that. But I am a Redskins fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Redskins spirit will never die. Redskins spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington Redskins. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support that you have shown me. You guys are so gracious. I thank you so much. Got another super chat from Joe Rockhead J. Thank you for the super chat, Joe Rockhead J. Greatly appreciate it. Joe Rockhead writes, I wonder would they sell limited tickets to fans willing to be quarantined and examined before the game? Maybe 200 and 300 seats spread apart, maybe. I don't know how realistic that is. I mean, you're essentially wasting tests to get people in the stadium. Because in order for you to let these people in, you'd have to test them. They would have to be certain that they don't have, the Rona. Because again, in order for the season to go off without a hitch, these players cannot be contaminated. So in order for you to have a season, I think the safest way, the most efficient way to do it is no fans in the stands. But, listening to Trump, he's trying to get fans back in the stands as soon as possible. I just don't know how feasible that really is. I really don't. Could you imagine being in the stadium with 2 seats apart from each person? Like, I just don't see that happening. I really don't. I really don't see it happening. DCJ, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. DCJ, who writes, based off your draft, why not go third round wide receiver instead? That's a great question. And it's, I think the Redskins value the tight end position in terms of what they're looking to get out of this draft at that particular pick. I think they're going to have a guy rated very highly on their board if they don't go out and trade for someone. And they're going to want to go ahead and get that. Now, if there's a guy, and I've said this a million times, if there's a guy at another position that they have rated very high in this draft, and they feel like they'll get more value out of selecting that player instead of a need, they could go wide receiver. And there will be some really good wide receivers available that may give you more value. But I just did it based off of value meeting a need. And there is no position I feel like the Redskins need more right now, because when I look at this roster, if we had to start a game tomorrow, I feel like we have enough on this team to field a team full of football players that could start that you feel confident enough in at every position except tight end. And based off of that situation and that thought process, I went ahead and selected the tight end in the third round. Because I feel like if we started the season tomorrow, the only position that we don't have a starting caliber player at right now on the roster is tight end. You can go up and down the rest of the other positions, defense, offense, special teams. You got a guy that is a starting caliber player at every position except tight end. And because of that, I think you got to act on tight end sooner rather than later. Now, if you tell me, and you can't guarantee me this, which is why I think the Redskins strike while the iron is hot. If you tell me I can not draft a tight end in the third round at 66 and just wait until the fourth round and Devin Asiasi is still there, okay, I'll take the third round receiver and I'll take Devin Asiasi in the fourth round. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, though. So, for that reason right there, I went with the tight end. But you're not wrong in wanting to know why not a receiver there. So, we'll see. But that being said, I thank you guys for joining me. This was a tremendous show. I am so excited for the draft. 2 days and counting. This time, 2 days from now, we'll be elated because Chase Young will be a Washington Redskin. So, got another super chat. It's from my man Brian Hutchinson again. Hutch been absolutely killing it tonight, man. Seriously. Hutch is just unconscious tonight. Really appreciate you, Hutch. Thank you so much for your support. It has been unwavering tonight, and I can't thank you enough. My man Hutch writes, just showing support. We haven't had a D coordinator like Jack Del Rio since Greg Williams. If we can stay somewhat healthy, we will turn heads this year. HTTR. You're not wrong in feeling that way. And you're absolutely 100% spot on about not having a D coordinator the likes of Greg Williams or Jack Del Rio since Greg Williams. You're absolutely spot on. We haven't had. We've been through, and I can go through the list right now. Greg Lotch was a defensive coordinator for us. Jim Haslett was a defensive coordinator for us. Joe Barry was a defensive coordinator for us. And obviously, we just got through Greg Minuski. It's been rough. The road has been bumpy. We've had guy after guy after guy after guy that has not worked. This is the first guy that I come into the season since Greg Williams, confident that we're going to put a product on the field that we can be proud of defensively. And it starts with Jack Del Rio. And so I appreciate you, Hutch, and you're spot on with that assessment. We have not had a guy like this since Greg Williams. And Jack Del Rio gives us something that we haven't had in this defense in a long time, and that's confidence. Confidence that the guy calling the plays knows what the hell he's doing and knows how to put guys in positions to be successful. So we could turn some heads if the defense is as good as we think it is, but a lot of other things have to happen as well. And so we'll see. But I thank you guys once again, man. It's been fantastic. You guys are awesome, man. I thank you guys so much. But again, barring a major happening over the next 48 hours, I'll see you guys on Thursday. All right, 7:30 pregame, 8 o'clock go time. I'll see you guys then. Until next time, I'm your man Louie T signing off. You guys have a good one. Take care.